Hello and welcome to the Legal Eagle. My guest on the show today has completed 64 glorious years at the bar. He's been Advocate General for 5 times in Karnataka. He's also taken on Jayalalithaa and won. I welcome on the show with privilege and honor Senior Advocate B.V. Acharya ji. Sir, as I welcome you on the show, it is my privilege and honor to have you on the show. I start off the Legal Eagle today with your journey at the very start. You were born in Belpur village in 1933. You did your schooling and college in Bangalore. You went for your law degree to Madras in 1956 where you completed it. You came back and did your apprenticeship in Bangalore under Shri B. Gangadhar Das, after which you got your enrollment done at the Mysore High Court in 1957, 64 years ago. It's been a glorious, glorious career, sir. How did your journey start and what did you encounter on your way in this journey?
Now, as you mentioned, I hail from Belpur village of Udupi Taluk. My family is middle class family, educated. My father was a school teacher. Though I am from the village, since my family had a very small hotel in Bangalore, I had the benefit of my entire education up to graduation in Bangalore city only. And after graduation, just on the footsteps of my father, I was thinking of becoming a teacher because I thought that I didn't have the intelligence enough to be an advocate. But a close friend of mine, Sri Vishwanath Rao, who later practiced in Bombay as an advocate, persuaded me to take up law. And since my father and uncle also agreed, I went to Madras and studied law at the Madras Law College. After graduation in law, you had to find a senior under whom you could do your apprenticeship. Fortunately for me, in Bangalore, I came in contact with the then leading advocate, Sri B. Gangadhar Das, and he was good enough to take me as an apprentice. He was a leading lawyer practicing both on the criminal and civil side. In those days, there was not much of a specialization. A lawyer was either dealing in criminal cases or civil cases, and few of them were practicing on both sides. Fortunately for me, Mr. Das was an advocate practicing on both sides, and therefore I had the opportunity to have my training as a lawyer both in civil law as well as in criminal law. Thus, after completing my apprenticeship under him, I continued as his junior. Mr. Gangadhar Das virtually conferred parental affection on me and gave me all the encouragement and support to become a competent lawyer. In fact, he is responsible for all that I am today because, but for his encouragement, I could not have achieved success as a lawyer. Now, because of my association with him, within 5 years of my practice, I was appointed as the additional public prosecutor in Bangalore to be in charge of sessions cases before the assistant sessions judges. Thus, for 4 years, I was additional PP. Then, soon thereafter, on the civil side, I was appointed as the district government pleader, and for 5 years I worked in that capacity. By then, you see, I had completed my 16 years in Bangalore and I got the reputation of being a competent lawyer both on the civil side as well as criminal side. And my ambition in life at that time was to be a successful lawyer in a place like Bangalore. But after 16 years, in the year 1972, there was a turning point in my life, if I can use the cricket expression. A friend of mine, advocate from Bangalore, Mr. Tukaram Pai, who had shifted to Bangalore in 71, persuaded me to come to Bangalore and practice in Bangalore along with him. Because of his persuasion, I shifted my practice to Bangalore in 1972. For some time, I was with Ms. Pai, and thereafter, I continued my independent practice and I had a fairly good practice. And within a short time, that is in about 1979, I was also elected as the president of the state bar council. At a fairly young age, I could attain that position. This is my journey from Bangalore to Bangalore.
I also want to go forward. You've been Advocate General 5 times under different regimes, be it Congress or the BJP. And I want to ask you, what has been the role of the Advocate General? Is it difficult when it comes to your personal opinions and what has to be advised to the government? As a top law officer, what has been the role? 5 times you've been Advocate General, sir.
See, the post of Advocate General is a constitutional post and he is an independent constitutional functionary. He is the Advocate General of the state and not of the government of the day. He has to be independent and his main aim should be to uphold the constitution, justice and rule of law. And an Advocate General has a duty even to protect the interest of a citizen as against the state. And therefore, it is wrong to think that an Advocate General is a mere advocate for the state government. It is the duty of the Advocate General to advise the government on legal matters, and it is not vice versa. It is not what the government says the AG will do, but the government must act according to the advice given by the Advocate General. The personal choice of the Advocate General is irrelevant.
Yes, that was clearly seen by us. Sir, I also want to ask you, in the past 64 years, what are the changes you've observed with respect to the judiciary? You once said democracy survived in our countries, unlike in many other neighboring countries, because of a strong and independent judiciary.
You see, according to me, it is because of the proactive role of the judiciary in this country that democracy has survived. To give few instances, let me say how the strong and independent judiciary in the country has helped in the survival of democracy in our country. First and foremost is the judgment of the Supreme Court in the case of Keshavananda Bharati, in which the 13-judge bench of the Supreme Court ruled that the Parliament is not supreme. The Supreme Court for the first time introduced the doctrine of basic structure and said that there could be no amendment of the Constitution which alters the basic structure of the Constitution. Because of this one decision which held the field all through, our Constitution today is the one which is serving the country well.
Sir, you worked for 9.5 years on India's most high-profile corruption case that took 21 years to reach finality. The Jayalalithaa case, the disproportionate assets case, where you were the giant slayer from the trial court to the Supreme Court. You fought this battle and victory was given when the trial court order was restored in the Supreme Court. 21 years after the FIR was registered accusing Jayalalithaa of amassing wealth to the tune of 66.65 crore rupees during her tenure as the Chief Minister, Sasikala and her relatives spent 4 years in jail. With one stroke of the pen, we saw the political landscape of Tamil Nadu undergoing a change. This only happened, sir, with your courage and integrity and conviction with which you fought in the trial court and the Supreme Court. Take us through that time. How did you manage? Was it a tough time?
My appointment as a special public prosecutor is because of the direction of the Supreme Court that an independent senior advocate chosen
prosecutor. That is why I was appointed
by the Chief Justice of the High Court should be appointed to authority to appoint. I would not have been the choice. But the Chief Justice of Karnataka at that time, Justice Sondi, insisted that I should become the public prosecutor, and I accepted that post. And Supreme Court had also directed a junior advocate of the prosecutor's choice should be appointed to assist him. And one Sri Sandesh Chauta was appointed to assist me on my recommendation. So his assistance was also there. Besides, my son B.L. Acharya and my daughter Pushpalatha are practicing advocates, and they were also helping me in the
preparation of this case and conduct of this case before the special court. Therefore, on the professional side, I had no difficulty in conducting the case before the court. But as you mentioned, there were certain pressures on the public prosecutor, and there were several attempts made to see that I resign the post of special public prosecutor,
so that the vested interest could get any of their men as special PP. Now it will be too difficult for me to explain various obstacles and hardships which I have encountered during this time. I may only mention that in 2014, my autobiography, All from Memory, was released by the Chief Justice of the High Court. And in that autobiography, I have given details of all the hardships which I have faced during the course of the proceedings.
Thereafter, when it reached a stage where even a false criminal case was foisted against me, I had no other choice but to resign. But I did that only after the High Court exonerated me and awarded a cost of 50,000 on the complainant who has filed the complaint against me. There I
once ceased to be the prosecutor, but destiny will otherwise. After 2-3 years, I had to again accept the position as a special prosecutor and continue the case before the Supreme Court. This second term as public prosecutor, I have dealt with and explained in the second volume of my autobiography, Prosecutor's Memoir. The book is ready. Because of the pandemic, the same has been not released. Within 1 or 2 months, the said book also will be released, it gives a full account of my efforts in this case from the beginning up to the stage of the Supreme Court.
We've all seen what you went through at that time, sir. You were the first special public prosecutor. You argued the matter before the trial court for 7 years. Like you said in Supreme Court, you came back and took it on. You decided to step down, like you said, citing pressure from various quarters in 2012. You were exonerated by the High Court. You cited mental agony over the orders. Was there political pressure at that time, sir?
See, pressures were of various types. See, I was the Advocate General of the state and also Special Public Prosecutor. Now, just to see that I ceased to be the Special Public Prosecutor, pressure was brought on me to say that you cannot hold two posts. You must step down as SPP and continue as Advocate General. The moment this suggestion was made, within 5 minutes, I tendered my resignation as Advocate General so as to enable me to continue as a Special Public Prosecutor. This became a big national news, and many senior counsel from Delhi congratulated me for sacrificing the post of Advocate General to continue as a Special Public Prosecutor. Then, having failed in all other attempts, ultimately, as I said, one false criminal case was foisted against me, so that it becomes embarrassing for me to continue as SPP. But at that stage, I thought enough is enough, and I resigned.
Sir, it was a time that we've seen, and we've also seen how you stood with your convictions, and we congratulate you and we learn from that. My next question, sir, what are your views when it comes to PILs? Today we are seeing PILs being filed with an alacrity. Are there any motivated, mischievous efforts sometimes behind PIL activism that we are seeing today?
The PIL was first started with very good intentions, and they really brought about very good results. They were in early 70s and 80s. PILs were filed to protect the interests of vulnerable sections of the society who, either because of illiteracy, poverty, or ignorance, were unable to approach court to assert their rights. Now, a public spirited citizen is held entitled to espouse their cause before court by way of PIL. These sections were either bonded laborers or prisoners in the jails, or the children or Adivasis, tribals, etc. So the PILs really served the purpose. But in course of time, misuse of PIL became very rampant. And nowadays, there are vested interests who have taken it as a business. Even some lawyers have even established some organizations for the purpose of filing PILs. The result is, as on today, the PILs are not serving really public interest. P stands for everything except public. It may be personal, it may be political, or it may be anything else. And the position has come to such a bad state that only the other day, Sri Dushyant Dave, former president of the Supreme Court Bar Association, has categorically stated out of 10 PILs filed, 9 of them are undoubtedly
motivated.
Yes. Sir, you have been widely felicitated. You've traveled the world going to different courts, understanding the judicial systems in various countries. Have you been offered to be a part of the bench? And also, what is your current thoughts on the collegiate system in the High Courts and Supreme Courts in India?
You see, when I shifted to Bangalore in the year 1972, I applied for the post of district and session judge, and I had an interview by the full court of the Karnataka High Court, but I selected. But I was not disappointed. Jokingly, I was telling my friends, it is a fight between bench and the bar. One of them will lose me, and I did not become a district judge. Later, in the year 1988, Justice Premchand Jain, when he was the Chief Justice, he recommended my name for elevation as a judge of the High Court. But after a long wait of 9 months, which period was a very embarrassing period, where everybody is asking, what has happened to the recommendation? Where is it? Is it in the Vidhan Sabha or High Court or Supreme Court? Like that. It was very embarrassing position. So after 9 months, I withdrew my consent to be considered for judgeship, and thus came to an end my chance of becoming a judge. And when I gave my letter of withdrawal of consent to the Honorable Chief Justice, he was good enough to offer me and say, we will designate you as a senior advocate. That is how in the year 1989, I was designated as a senior advocate. Now, as on today, more than half of my career is as a senior advocate of the High Court.
Sir, this brings me to my last question. What are your hobbies? How do you spend your days now? What would your advice for youngsters who want to join the legal profession be?
Let me tell you, even now I am a practicing advocate and I am regularly attending to my cases. Therefore, question of spending time otherwise doesn't arise. So far as hobbies are concerned, I only listen to music, particularly Hindi and Kannada old songs. I like them. My only advice to youngsters is that one, you must be always working very hard. If any lawyer says that he has become successful without hard work, it is not true. A lawyer, to be successful, must work very hard. Number two, he must very strictly follow professional ethics. If these two things are adhered to, even a person of ordinary intelligence or competence like me could become a very successful lawyer. Therefore, my advice to the youngsters is not to clamor for coming up in the profession very quickly. It will be a slow process, but work hard, follow the ethics. Then you will go to very great heights in the profession.
Sir, it's been a wonderful legal eagle, and I thank you truly for being with us, because you teach me as well as other professionals on how to be. This is no longer just about hard work, but humility, and the fact that you've said with a lot of conviction, and we've seen that you continue practicing in the High Courts and the Supreme Court. I thank you for your time, and I hope that there are glorious many years of seeing you practicing at the bar. Thank you, sir, for being a part.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.